Scope mounting is a very important part of setting up a long-range shooting system. It's actually pretty straightforward, but a lot of guys get intimidated because they don't know the required steps to execute the proper scope mount. And it really boils down to having the right tools on hand so you can do the tasks that are required. Primarily, we're talking about torquing the screws to proper specs so they don't come loose. And if you've got a torque wrench, this one's real simple to use. You can make any setting adjustment that you need. If you've got a torque wrench, you can tighten that screw into the proper preload. If you don't do this every day, all day, you don't know whether it's too loose or too tight. Torque wrench will get you there. After you've got the rings and base mounted, the surface contact on that ring versus the scope is going to be about 5 to 10%. We're going to lap with a lapping bar and some lapping compound, like a 220 grit lapping compound, until we achieve 75% or more contact on that bottom half of the ring and the scope tube. That's going to prevent the scope from getting pinched or torqued when we tighten up that top set of rings. The last tool that we need and the last step that we need to do is to level the reticle of the scope with the center line of the bore. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. There's several different types of tools, but basically what we're going to try to do is level the raceways of the bore or level the action. If there's a flat spot on the action, we'll level that. And then when we mount our rings and mount our scope, we're going to level off the top of the scope. That's going to work for a high-end scope where all the surfaces are true and parallel. Another method involves hanging a string on a plumb bob on a wall or putting a piece of tape up vertically, and you can line your reticle up against that tape, with your action leveled up. So those are two simple ways we can do that. So the first process that we're going to do is drop our rings on here. Now these ring sets that we do on our LR1000 actions have a pin that mates up with a special hole in the action. It's kind of a tight fit. Now you won't have to do this if you mount a scope for yourself, but we'll go ahead and tap that ring in. Do the same for the back. Installation is pretty straightforward. Just lube the threads and torque to proper specification supplied by your ring and base manufacturer. Then with the lapping bar and compound, lap the rings until you achieve just over 75% contact. Clean up the lapping agent and place the scope and the top half of the rings. Remember to use some locking agent and just snug up the rings so that you can still position the scope for level and eye relief. So the next step is to torque those screws down, and it's a slightly lower setting than what we used to set our bases. And when you do these torque wrenches, you want it to get pretty snug, and then just do a real even gradual pull up to our setting. Pretty much if you've got a good set of tools, you can accomplish all the tasks that are required to do a good job mounting your scope. This set from Wheeler has the torque wrench, the lapping bar, and the leveling tools, even has your locking agent. It's a pretty handy kit. You can buy it all in one shot. I went through the proper steps here, and you can too. I'm Davidson. For more do-it-yourself tips, go to gunwerks.com.